Eclipse King George, the Irish Derby and Oaks, July Cup, Sussex Stakes and the climax to the American Triple Crown for fillies. Just some of the racing highlights on this month's Racing World.
We relive a great race of yesteryear, the 1975 King George Epic between Grundy and Bastino.
Bill Oppenheim looks back at a Keeneland sale that surprised the pundits. Will Saratoga do the same?
We travelled to the Curragh to talk to one of Ireland's top trainers, Dermot Weld.
2 days after his birth, we returned to Cheveley Park Stud to monitor the progress of Coriana's colt foal.
In anticipation of the Tote Ebor meeting, we'll be taking a look at York Racecourse and preview the International Stakes.
For those who wish to improve their racing knowledge, we evaluate the sprint race and try to analyse the difference between success and defeat. Hello again. Welcome to Racing World. It's been a month full of incident. Nashwan has maintained his unbeaten record and become the first horse to win the 2,000 Guineas, Derby, Eclipse and King George in the same season. The Coral Eclipse, which looked his hardest task to date when he faced those outstanding horses Warning and Indian Skimmer, confirmed his potential as a great horse.
2 weeks later at Ascot, Nashwan came perilously close to losing his unbeaten record as Kirkcaldy pressed him all the way to the line in the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth's Diamond Stakes.
One of the main stories of the month was the shock news that Alyisa had failed a routine dope test following her victory in last month's Oaks. The substance found in her sample was camphor, an aromatic oil which acts as a respiratory stimulant. It has a smell that we would normally associate with something like this jar of Vicks to help us breathe more easily. It also acts as a stimulant on the central nervous and cardiovascular system, and the Jockey Club warned trainers of its danger back in November last year, partly because it's sometimes used by trainers on the noses of horses to stop cult-smelling fillies when they're travelling together.
Alyisa's sample was tested here at the Horse Racing Forensic Laboratory under the supervision of Dr. Michael Moss. Every year the laboratory conducts some 6,500 tests on behalf of the Jockey Club, of which just 10 or 11 proved to be positive. Jonathan Powell went to talk to Dr. Moss about camphor.
The fact that it is capable of producing an effect, it falls into, in other words, it falls into one of the categories of prohibited substances, means that it has to be treated as a positive.
And is it also illegal in other countries?
Well, yes, it certainly is. I mean, camphor is a substance that's been reported in, I mean, I can't quote the number, but it's not uncommon.
What is the effect that it has on a horse that makes it illegal or banned?
It is said to be a respiratory stimulant, amongst other things, and that's a category that is explicitly prohibited.
And is camphor one of the substances that has a threshold level?
No.
It isn't?
No, there's no threshold on camphor. No.
Why is that?
Well, you see, it would be to misinterpret the meaning of the threshold level. Thresholds apply to substances which you can't avoid. There are a number of substances that are prohibited substances, but which you cannot eliminate from feed. And the example I give, which is probably the best example, is salicylic acid. This is a breakdown product of aspirin. It's an anti-inflammatory substance, and indeed it can be given as an anti-inflammatory agent. But the fact that food contains it, a horse's normal food contains salicylic acid, means that there is always some there. So clearly you have got to exempt the horse from these traces of substances like salicylic acid.
The Jockey Club's list of prohibitive substances was first drawn up in 1977 and includes antibiotics, which would certainly have helped old Vic's condition when he took part in the Irish Derby. Just 24 hours before the race, he was found to be suffering from a boil on his back. With the help of old-fashioned remedies and a special pad under the saddle, old Vic became the first since a cert to win the French and Irish Derbies.
Not long after the race, Old Vic was found to be lame one morning, and although the injury was not serious, it was enough for him to miss his showdown with Nashwan in the King George.
In the Irish Oaks, there was a shock defeat for Alyisa, as Alyisa gave trainer Henry Cecil a Derby and Oaks double. Alyisa's victory means that owner Sheikh Mohammed has won all 4 Irish Classics this season, and she was his 4th Irish Oaks winner in the last 3 years, following Melodist and Diminuendo's dead heat last year and Unite's victory in 1987.
In America, the fillies' Triple Crown consists of the 1 Mile Acorn, the 9 Furlong Mother Goose, and the 12 Furlong Coaching Club American Oaks. Well, Jean Klein's Open Mind became only the 7th filly to win all 3, and she's now won 9 in a row.
Well, our racing action now starts with a build-up to this year's King George VI and Elizabeth Diamond Stakes. The race of the century, or so it was hyped, with Nashwan, Indian Skimmer and Warning due to meet in the Eclipse Stakes at Sandown Park. On a humid afternoon, spectators sweltered, waiting for England's first middle distance prize where 3 generations would clash. Derby hero Nashwan, some 20 minutes before post time. His striking presence almost overshadowed Warning, a smaller, squat individual. Cool, almost aloof, Indian Skimmer remained impassive virtually throughout a lengthy build-up. Opening Verse and Greensmith were both due to act as pacemakers. Opening Verse for Indian Skimmer, Greensmith for Warning. With approximately half a mile left, Opening Verse scooted round the home bend, well clear. Nashwan, Indian Skimmer and Warning were almost line abreast in pursuit. Nashwan's tremendous surge up the straight routed Indian Skimmer, who failed narrowly to catch her pacemaker. Warning ran abysmally. Connection blamed the going.
But now Nashwan starts to make ground on the outside of Greensmith. Warning forced even wider still. Indian Skimmer comes with the run, but it's her pacemaker. Opening Verse in front as they come down towards the 3. But here comes Nashwan through in the blue. Under 3 to race. And Opening Verse clear of Nashwan and Indian Skimmer. And Warning, who when he goes past the 2 furlong marker, will be in unknown territory. They come down towards the 2. And it's Opening Verse being pressed hard by Warning and by Nashwan. And here comes Nashwan on the outside, a furlong and a half to go. And Nashwan goes on. And the crowd rise to a champion. It's Nashwan clear by 2. Back to 3 to Indian Skimmer. Warning is right out of it, he's struggling. But Nashwan has it. And in the quest for the best, it's Nashwan who pulls 4 clear. The race is for the place. Nashwan has it. He maintains his unbeaten record. This isn't his best trip, but he's winning it emphatically. And Nashwan is the winner. A photo second. Opening Verse may just have tipped Indian Skimmer, but they are 15 clear of Warning, who's 4th. And then came Springhay, and Greensmith was last of all. And so Nashwan at 5 to 2 on has won this race of champions, the Coral Eclipse. Outside comes Toto, the favourite to come and take the Coral Eclipse. Shady Heights still has the edge, though. Toto coming with a great run. The race inside the final furlong, and Shady Heights keeping up the gallop, and Shady Heights going on by half a length. Toto tries to find more, and he does so. And at the line, Toto gets there. Shady Heights second.
Toto, a son of Busted, won 8 races and over £840,000 to become European champion all ages at 9.5 furlongs plus in 1987 and European champion all ages at 11 furlongs plus in 1988.
Sheriff Star, successful in the Coronation Cup at Epsom, was the one foreign challenger for the Grand Prix de Saint-Cloud on the first Sunday in July. Stealing a narrow advantage about a furlong out, he became the 5th English-trained winner of this race in the 80s. His half-brother, Moon Madness, took the prize in 87.
They sprint for home now, and it's Millpond 2 in front. Sheriff Star very quickly out after him. Then Vaguely Pleasant, who can't go with him, followed by on the inside Star Left, looking for a way through now. Millpond in front from Sheriff Star. Star Left on the inside, nowhere to go there. Further back is Golden Pheasant. Star Left checked on the inside. Boyatino starting to fly. Sheriff Star gets the lead from Millpond. Out wide Golden Pheasant. Boyatino flashing home. It's Sheriff Star just in front and maybe just held on from Golden Pheasant. Boyatino 3rd from Star Left, then Millpond, and Vaguely Pleasant last.
Sheriff Star's next target was the King George, and also Ascot bound were Carroll House and Top Class after the Princess of Wales Stakes at Newmarket. Top Class flopped, but Carroll House forward, and how.
They come inside the final furlong, and Assadis on the outside pressing Carroll House, but Carroll House is holding on, and Pat Henry will have to go hard to home, and Carroll House is holding. Assadis put to the finish, but Carroll House wins. Assadis is second, Michelozzo 3rd, and Pastrana beat the early pacemaker Top Class, and so the outcome of this Princess of Wales Stakes is a photo.
And so to Ascot for the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Diamond Stakes. Always a great occasion, and this year with Nashwan, all the more so. Few spectators expected the race to be anything other than a Nashwan benefit. At 9 to 2 on, he was the hottest King George favourite since Santa Claus, beaten in 1964. A dawdling pace set by Polymos, Nashwan's pacemaker, placed an emphasis on tactics. Top Class and Michael Roberts were the first to go for home.
Coming now to the half-mile pole in the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Diamond Stakes, and Polymos is still the leader from Top Class. Has made a charge now for the front under Michael Robertson, has gone to the front. Top Class has gone to the front now from Carroll House and Polymos. Nashwan is in 4, Kakaweethe's 5. Into the home straight and enterprising Brit for Glory here by Michael Roberts as he stormed clear on Top Class under pressure. Nashwan has now moved into second. Nashwan is being tracked by Kakaweethe's. Nashwan is cutting down Top Class as though he didn't exist. Nashwan has stored into the lead now from Kakaweethe's, who's coming there to over-challenge him. It's Nashwan and Kakaweethe's now, the big 2 3-year-olds as they race towards the line. Nashwan on the far side, Kakaweethe's on the near side. As they race to the line, it's Nashwan and Kakaweethe's, and Nashwan has won it. Nashwan has won it from Kakaweethe's. Top Class is third, 4 is Sheriff Star, 5, 6 and 7 were Carroll House and Polymos and Tisserand was last.
Another outstanding finish to the King George. Nashwan, Kakaweethe's, Carson and Starkey in lung-bursting combat to the line. Nashwan took the diamonds, but racing as a sport and thrilling entertainment got a gem that few will forget. It was Nashwan's best display to date. He and Kakaweethe's slaughtered their seniors, and Nashwan is now 139 in time form.
Classic brilliance from Gainesway. Glory at Newmarket. A classic debut at Longchamp. Dominance at the Curragh. A champion returns to Rome. Still unbeaten at Epsom. Blushing Groom, Leafard, and Learfan. Gainesway Farm Stallions.
If you were asked to name just one race as a candidate for Race of the Century, you might well pick the 1975 King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Diamond Stakes. It was a race that attracted a top-class field. Among the older horses, Bastino, winner of the St Ledger and Coronation Cup. Star Appeal had recently won the Eclipse and would go on to win the Arc. The magnificent Dahlia, a 2-time winner of the King George. Dibbydale had captured the Irish Oaks. The younger generation was represented by Grundy, the English and Irish Derby winner. Jonathan Powell talked to 2 of the principals involved.
Joe, what was the plan beforehand to try and beat Grundy?
Well, the plan to beat Grundy was really that we knew Bastino was an out-and-out stayer, and we had pacemakers for him. Unfortunately, Robertson, who was our chief pacemaker, couldn't take part, so we ran the other 2, which was Kinglet and Highest in the race. And the idea was to sort of jump off and go tremendously fast, which undoubtedly we did. The time was very fast, and try and, sort of make us down the tail.
Peter, the 1975 King George has tremendous memories for you. How confident were you before with Grundy?
We weren't very confident because we knew that Dick Howard was going to try and break us by having 2 pacemakers in Kinglet and Highest, and they certainly did their utmost to try and break us. And going to the turn, Pat Hillary on Grundy was flat to the floorboards, but he managed to get to Bastino.
And it's Kinglet from Star Appeal now as they race towards the 5-furlong marker and pass it. It's Kinglet in the lead from Star Appeal in second, and Bastino third, and Grundy 4 and 5, Ashmore, and 6 is Dahlia. 7 just behind them, Libra's Rib making good ground towards the outside. Then Card King, behind Card King is Dibbydale, then On My Way, and they're past the half-mile marker now and racing towards the home turn, and it's Bastino has gone on from Grundy, and it's Bastino now in the lead from Grundy, the favourite, in second. Then comes Star Appeal third, Dahlia's coming there strongly 4, behind Dahlia is Ashmore, then Libra's Rib and Card King as they level up for home, and Bastino from Grundy in second, Star Appeal and Dahlia, then Ashmore, then On My Way beginning a run towards the stand side of the 2-furlong marker, and it's Bastino, Joe Mercer being pressed by Pat Hillary, now Grundy, then Dahlia in third place as they race towards the furlong pole. It's Bastino and Grundy together, then comes Dahlia, then On My Way, Bastino on the far side, Grundy on the near side, the 3-year-old and the 4-year-old as they race into the final 150 yards, and it's Grundy going on from Bastino and Dahlia and On My Way. Bastino's fighting his way back, but Grundy's holding him, and as they come to the line, Grundy wins it. Bastino second, Dahlia's third, On My Way 4, Card King 5, 6 is Ashmore, 7 is Dibbydale, and 8 Libra's Rib, and 9 and last.
It was a race that finished both horses in a way, wasn't it?
Well, certain horses don't last forever, and I was rather restricted as to where I ran him again. I was only allowed to run him twice more, and I wasn't allowed to run him in the Arc. And as a result, one ran him at York, one thought he was at his very best after it, and he seemed very well, but certainly the Ascot race had taken its toll.
If you watch the race again, you'll see him change his legs and his tongue comes out, and whether or not he sort of damaged himself there and then, but by this time Grundy had got me and just powered home to beaten by half a length. There's no disgrace in being beaten by a horse who's won an Irish Derby and an English Derby and trying to give him a stone. And unfortunately my horse never put on a race course again. It was a few days after, I think the major took him out exercise and was going to give a canter, and they found they had a bow tendon. So it's very possible that during the race, or at least a furlong from home when he did change his legs, that it was happened there and then.
Well, that was some race, Jim. What do you remember about it?
Oh, I think that last furlong struggle, I mean, it was nip and tuck for so long, and I think the thing about races like that, Tracy, is you look back at them 12, 15 years later, and it's still very, very exciting. I mean, your father rode Dahlia into third place in that race. What do you remember about it?
Well, I remember her not really being up to it on that day, but she certainly got her own back on Grundy and the Benson Hedges, didn't she?
Reference point today was a supreme racehorse. He's dominated the race. When Steve's asked him to quicken in the straight, he's put the issue beyond doubt. He's kept galloping to the line. He's a real stayer, a Derby winner who's won the King George, and he's won it in style.
Reference point, champion European 2-year-old in 1986, champion 3-year-old in 1987.
The main talking point for breeders this month has been the Keeneland July Select sale. Bill Oppenheim of Racing Update will be taking an extended look at the sale and indeed sales trends over the last 10 years. This comes later in our Kentucky Sales Review and Saratoga Preview. The breeding world recently witnessed the end of an era with the sale of Northern Dancer's last 2 yearlings at Keeneland. The sales-topping colt out of Mrs. Penny was the last of 295 Northern Dancer yearlings sold in North America over the last 23 years. And his price of $2.8 million bumped up his size total to a staggering $183,758,632. This works out at an equally stunning average of over $620,000. In fact, the record books will show that as many as 52 of Northern Dancer's yearlings sold for $1 million or more in North America, while another 2 easily topped the million guinea mark in Europe in 1988. In all, 21 fetched the equivalent of $2.5 million or more. The list of North America's highest-priced yearlings gives some idea of Northern Dancer's unique appeal. He's responsible for 8 of the top 12, while 3 of the other 4 are by his son Nijinsky. Buying a 7-figure yearling by Northern Dancer has been a bit like playing Russian roulette. The majority of buyers have metaphorically blown their brains out, paying huge sums for such flops as the $10.2 million Snaffy Dancer. But the potential gains for the survivors have also been enormous. Among the principal beneficiaries have been the Maktoums with the $3.3 million Sharif Dancer, Stavros Niarchos, owner of the $1.3 million Nureyev, and Robert Sangster with the $1 million Stormbird. Indeed, most of racing's major players have spent fortunes on Northern Dancer's yearlings ever since Charles Engelhard paid a Canadian record of $84,000 for Nijinsky back in 1968. Of course, it hasn't just been a story of record prices. There have also been some notable bargains among Northern Dancer's lowest-priced yearlings, including the 15,000 guinea Liffard, the Derby winner Secreto, who made his $340,000 price tag look cheap, and the champion sire Be My Guest, a record-priced yearling who now looks very inexpensive. The question now is which stallion is most likely to succeed Northern Dancer. In the short term, my vote has to go to Blushing Groom. But in the long term, I think Sadler's Wells may well prove the one to watch in Europe. And he, of course, is a son of none other than Northern Dancer.
Whilst the American scene is looking healthier than many expected, the Australian breeding industry has been hit by the news that top trainer Bart Cummings's $23 million Australian syndication plan has failed. Cummings, who has trained 7 Melbourne Cup winners, failed to meet a June the 30th deadline to reach an 80% minimum acceptance for his scheme. The ramifications are very serious, as it follows the difficulties of Tommy Smith's Tulloch Lodge syndicate, which owes some $7 million Australian for yearlings bought this year. He's now being forced to sell 45 of his yearlings. These 2 syndicates accounted for 12% of yearlings sold at the sales. Aside from money owed to the leading auctioneers, such as Inglis & Son, there's likely to be a tremendous shortfall in yearling values if these two major players are forced to cut back drastically on their spending. Bart Cummings has also been hit by the loss of two of his best racehorses, Sky Chase and Bozam, who was being aimed at the Arc. Both have broken down and will not race again, but plans are underway for their syndication as stallions.
The British Bloodstock Agency and BBA Ireland form the world's largest bloodstock agency, offering a comprehensive international service. Wherever the hammer falls, the BBA are buying horses for clients worldwide. In the 1980s, the successes of BBA purchases include Golden Fleece in the Derby, Carla Dancer in the Dewhurst, and Gallic League in the Middle Park.
Just going to get there close home, or is he at the post? It's close. Carla Dancer.
BBA manage over 40 stallions in Europe, amongst them leading classic sire Shirley Heights, and can negotiate nominations to most stallions in the world for their clients. BBA Insurance Services handle the largest bloodstock account in Europe, offering the most competitive rates for all types of insurance, including cover from fall of hammer. The BBA Shipping Department arranges all classes of horse transport, either with their own fleet of modern horse boxes or by air freight to all corners of the globe. With access to the largest and most up-to-date database, BBA Bloodlines provides a unique service to breeders, giving that additional edge when planning ratings. BBA built and opened the Hastings Centre last year to provide a much-needed facility in Newmarket, containing the largest equine swimming pool in the country. The preparation of group winners, Indian Skimmer, Old Vic and Most Welcome, has been greatly assisted by regular visits to the centre.
When you think of racing form, you automatically think of time form, whose opinion and ratings are used and trusted without question all over the world. Far removed from any racecourse, it's here at Halifax that Phil Bull founded Timeform in 1948, and where they still have their headquarters today. In providing up-to-date, comprehensive information about every thoroughbred racing in Britain, Timeform's task obviously starts on the racecourse, with their team of course representatives headed by Jim Mcgrath. He's here at Sandown on Coral Eclipse Day to interpret the day's events.
I start my day by colouring in a Timeform card. It's pointless me working from an official card because I might as well work with the same tools, if you like, that the people in the office are going to do. And the first race here at Sandown this afternoon is a 2-year-old maiden race. Several of the field are newcomers. As well as colouring it in, I asterisk all the horses that are newcomers, so that draws to my attention that they need a description. Equally, the horses that have already been described in Timeform, for example, the third one down here has a description. I will check that the description awarded first time or second time out is hopefully accurate. One's looking for pointers such as behaviour patterns, fitness, is the horse carrying a lot of condition or is he fully fit, is he green, is he looking round at everything in the paddock, is he experienced enough to do himself justice, and to take those factors into account when the race itself starts. Then in the race one is trying to assess the horse's performance. From an objective point of view, does it need further, shorter, did the ground suit it, did it start slowly, did it start quickly, all those sort of factors.
It's race interpreting. We don't want a commentary on the race. What we want is their views on the race, is how unlucky the horses have been. If they won 4 lengths, should they have won 6 lengths? That's the valuable information that our racecourse representatives convey to the office.
The main race of the day is the Coral Eclipse, which has attracted an outstanding field this year. So what sort of things will Jim be looking for?
Obviously the main point with Warning this afternoon is, will he really stay a mile and a quarter? Will he be the same brilliantly effective animal at a mile and a quarter he is at a mile? Will Nashwan, who gave such a striking performance in the Derby, as opposed to the Guineas, where I didn't think he was brilliantly impressive, but he was at Epsom, be as effective at a mile and a quarter? And to try and look and interpret performances like that. Equally, Indian Skimmer is running today for the first time for a long time. They say that she's had trouble because of firm ground. It's been difficult getting her fit. How will she stretch out? Will she let herself go?
He maintains his unbeaten record. This isn't his best trip, but he's winning it emphatically, and Nashwan is the winner.
You know, having been reluctant to go along with all the plaudits awarded to Nashwan, based purely and simply on his performance in the Derby, one has no qualms now in awarding him the palm of one of the greats of certainly the last decade. He was an outstanding winner today. My job now is to try and help our handicapper hopefully interpret that so we come up with a rating that is both logical and practical for our subscribers. Now, Warning, Indian Skimmer and Nashwan all basically raced together. Warning came a little wide on the turn. He was soon beaten. I don't want his performance taken in context in any way. He beat Spring Hay a length and a half. You know, that's stones below his best. But Indian Skimmer has a level of form prior to today this season, with her 2 wins, one here and one in France, that is a little bit below her best. I think the sensible course of action for our handicapper to take, it's just my view, I'm not saying he has to do that, is to base Indian Skimmer running to that sort of level, the 2 performances, the same sort of level she put up in 2 performances earlier this season, and rate Nashwan on her doing that. And if one does that, you come up with obviously a performance of the highest class, and Nashwan establishes himself without doubt on form the best horse in Europe by some way.
Each interpreter telephones through his report to his own answering machine. Transcriptions are then typed, duplicated and distributed around the editorial office. Following the Coral Eclipse, in Timeform's Black Book, the winner Nashwan has been rated 139. That's an improvement of £3 on his previous rating. With little form to go on, rating a 2-year-old maiden is a rather more difficult task. The handicapper relies on previous runnings of the race to establish some kind of standard.
Well, first of all, we find that the relationship between the horses at the winning line, taking into account the weights carried and the distances beaten, and we record those relationships on the card. In this particular race that we're dealing with at Sandown on Saturday, the relationship between the winner and the second was £4, £5 to the third and £5 to the fourth, and we record those figures on the card. And then we apply those figures to the standards that this race has produced over the last maybe 9-10 years. And from those standards and the relationship between the horses, we arrive at a figure. We start from that premise that the race is up to the standard of previous years, and then of course we bring in the previous form of any of the runners that have run before into account, and also we take into account what our racecourse representative might have said in his report. But in this particular instance, I agree with our racecourse representative. Based on the evidence of the previous form of these horses which have run, it rather looks as though this is a substandard race. And what I've done is that I've made the rating with the winner 82, which would suggest that this race is probably about £4 below the standard of previous years.
The ratings and commentaries assembled by the editorial team are used in Timeform's various publications. The facts included in the daily race cards and the weeklies, such as the Black Book and the Timeform Perspective, are constantly updated to provide subscribers with accurate information.
Well, the main aim is to help the punter, and the second aim is to help the bloodstock breeder. Obviously the annual's more of a help to the bloodstock breeder than the Timeform. The Timeform's mainly aimed at the punter to help him back winners.
Perhaps the most prized publication in any racing library is the Timeform Annual, which over the years has bestowed greatness, but only on a few.
In the entire history of Timeform, there are only 10 horses that we've rated 140, between 140 and 145. And the most recent of those was Dancing Brave. They include horses like Middle Reef, Vaguely Noble, Seabird that I've mentioned before, Brigadier Gerard, Tudor Minstrel, and all those names are so well known as outstanding horses.
When Phil Bull set out 40 years ago to provide a punter's aid, he could hardly have envisaged the respect that Timeform still enjoys today.
It's really a very big team effort revolving around what we see in the racecourse and how it's interpreted, and the facts, meaning the results of the races and how they're interpreted here. It's quite a unique organisation. There isn't another one like it in the world, and it is the envy of the world.
Executive Perk, trained by Dermot Weld, is as good a 4-year-old currently in training in Ireland. Here, over a mile at Phoenix Park in June, he gave weight all round and simply shrugged aside his rivals.
Now has gone to the front from Blasted Heath, Corwin Bay, Astraeus improving on the outside, but it's Executive Perk now who's gone 2.5 to 3 lengths clear, followed home by Corwin Bay and Noura Boo as they go to the line. Executive Perk by about 3, Corwin Bay second, Noura Boo 3, Blasted Heath, Astraeus and Kyra.
Noura Abu, third there, was one of 10 fillies in the Pretty Polly Stakes at the Curragh. Now 7, she retains her enthusiasm splendidly, and fortunately the interference she caused third-placed Slender Style didn't affect her victory. Mamaluna took second.
The leader from Kostroma, then comes Slender Style. Behind these in 4th place is Noura Boo, and behind Noura Boo is Indian Queen, and then Tursana, and they're followed by Always on a Sunday, but Mamaluna is the leader, being tackled by Noura Boo, and then comes Slender Style as they race inside the final furlong now, and Noura Boo, the old mare, comes through to take it up. Noura Boo from Mamaluna as they race into the closing stages. Noura Boo, the leader from Mamaluna. This is a surprise, and Noura Boo goes on to win her first race since 1987. Second is Mamaluna. In 3rd place is Slender Style, then Indian Queen, Tursana. They're followed across the line by Kostroma, behind Kostroma Always on a Sunday.
Saddler's Congress went off at odds-on for the Railway Stakes. Unfortunately, he missed the break and was always struggling to catch Ahonora's promising son, Armanasco, and Neat Style.
Saddler's Congress stream left, and Memorabilia dropping out then. Annie Laurie as they race down now inside the final furlong, and it's Neat Dish and Armanasco on the near side. Armanasco near side of Neat Dish. Saddler's Congress, Janubi, Annie Laurie, Memorabilia. It's going to be close, but Armanasco, the newcomer on the near side, has the advantage. It's another for Christy Roach and Jim Bulger as they race up to the line. Armanasco's won it. Neat Dish is second. Saddler's Congress 3, Janubi 4, 5 Memorabilia. Behind Memorabilia comes Annie Laurie and finally Mrs. Clancy. So a marvellous 2-day meeting this for Jim Bulger and Christy Roach.
The Phoenix International Stakes. English Raider Distant Relative sprints away to win easily. Executive Perk, below form in 3rd, finished lane.
Just over the furlong down, and Distant Relative goes for home. Distant Relative is the leader. Executive Perk is second. Sagamore's running on in 3. Hanoria 4, but Distant Relative is clear as they race well inside the last furlong. Distant Relative pushed out by Michael Hills. Clear 4 lengths up, and it's going to be tight for second, with Sagamore running on well on the outside of Executive Perk as they go to the line. It's Distant Relative the winner. It'll be close for second. Sagamore just touching off Executive Perk. I'd say Hanoria just behind them in 4. Saratoga.
Ireland, the perfect place for the thoroughbred, the land of time enough and classic horses.
The Curragh Stakes over 5 furlongs confirmed Aminata an improved filly. In front from the start, she tended to hang right, but still had too much speed for Railway Stakes 4th, Janubi.
Over the furlong race, and Aminata, the leader, chased by Music Prospector, has come under pressure. They're racing down now into the final furlong, and it's Aminata who leads. Aminata out in front from Music Prospector in second. City Life's running on the outside, then Janubi, but Aminata's clear. It's another one for Christy Roach and Jim Bulger as Aminata powers home to win this Shernazar Curragh Stakes by about 2.5 lengths. Janubi comes through for second on the inside of City Life. 4th is Music Prospector, who was well and truly beaten on merit. Chandrayan is next, and Rathbone Realm is last of the 6 runners.
Only 5 fillies lined up for the Irish Oaks, including Epsom winner Alyisa and fellow Newmarket challenger Alidares, successful previously in the Ribble Stakes at Royal Ascot. Pt2 and the Newmarket pair drew clear, with Alidares holding on gamely. The Irish, in 4 classics this season, have gained a place on just 2 occasions.
4 around the home turn, straightening out with under 3 to race, and Alyisa strikes the front from Careless Riding. Alidares, the grey, poised to challenge Petty Deal, putting in a run under Ron Quinton on the outside past the 2 furlong marker now, and it's Alyisa tackled immediately by Alidares, and Petty Deal is coming with them on the outside. They've just over a furlong to race, and it's Alidares being challenged by Petty Deal. Alyisa over on the far side inside the final furlong now, and it's Alidares the leader from Petty Deal on the near side. Alyisa in 3rd. A great finish here. Alidares from Alyisa trying to rally Petty Deal on the near side as they race up towards the line, and Alidares is going to win it from Michael Cannan. Alidares has won the Irish Oaks. Alyisa second, Petty Deal is 3rd, and they're a good 10 lengths or so clear of Royal Climber, and Careless Riding who made the running its last.
Some consolation for the Irish is that Alidares' dam was bred by Irish Prime Minister Charles Haughey. Fears that Old Vic's boil, rather than his bubble, would burst in the Irish Derby proved groundless. He seemed completely unfussed by a boil that had developed on his back shortly beforehand. And it was soon Old Vic's captivating routine again. Follow me, follow. I'm always chasing rainbows. None of these could match his rhythm or pace. Observation Post and Il Deniski fared best of 7 rivals, strung out some 40 lengths across the Curragh. Old Vic completely upstaged his second successive classic field.
As they swing into the straight with just 3 furlongs to cover, and Old Vic is the leader. Old Vic and Steve Cawthon from Il Deniski. Pat Edery poised to challenge on the outside. Then Zayani, Glowing Star, Observation Post. 2 furlongs out now, and Old Vic the leader, being tackled by Il Deniski on the near side. Then Observation Post making ground on the inner. Zayani is next, and then Glowing Star over a furlong down, and Old Vic is the leader from Il Deniski. Observation Post is running on well in second, but as they stretch inside the final furlong now, Old Vic running on strongly. Observation Post coming after him. Il Deniski in third. They're clear of Zayani forward. Old Vic is going to make it all. Not quite as impressive as at Shanty, but a splendid victory nonetheless by about 4 lengths. Observation Post is second, Il Deniski 3. Phantom Breeze fares best of the Irish in 4. Glowing Star 5. Zayani fades into 6. Stone Drum 7. And a long way back to Galliero, who's 8th and last.
Arguments persist. Who's the better, Old Vic or Nashwan? Nashwan's 2 fine victories since the Derby and his win earlier in the Guineas mark him unquestionably the more versatile. But Old Vic is an outstanding middle distance performer, and a race between these 2 brilliant colts at their best is what most wish to see. Let's hope that we do.
They've got 150 yards to go, and Indian Ridge has the advantage by about a length. Tigani now going second. It's going to be very close between Indian Ridge, Tigani.
As he come up towards the line, Parkerfield, the easy winner at the post. Parkerfield the winner. And it's Don't Forget Me who's holding on. Bellotto pushing in late front on the very wide outside. It's Don't Forget Me and Bellotto barely eats up the ground. But Don't Forget Me wins the Guineas.
It looks like an Irish victory. Park Express, John Reid, double bet, closing the gap, but she's not going to get there as they race up towards the line. Park Express wins the Phoenix Champion Stakes.
(1989) may not have been a vintage one for Irish trained horses, but one man who consistently competes and succeeds at the top is Dermot Weld. We've come down here to the Curragh where he trains to talk to him about some of his training methods. The Curragh is one of the great natural training centres of the world. Magnificent grass gallops, supported by extensive all-weathers, make it one of the ideal locations for training thoroughbreds. Dermot Weld has a record to match with the best. He has trained 7 European Classic winners, including the likes of Blue Wind and multiple group winners such as Kilimanjaro. 3 times Dermot has been champion Irish trainer, and 11 times leading trainer for races won. July is an interesting time for trainers, as 2-year-olds start to come to hand, and hopes for the future begin to materialise.
Now we've got 3 more colts, 3 backward 2-year-old colts, that are really just doing the first bit of work. They're going off there, they're just going to work 6 furlongs. And they're just doing a half speed. They'll quicken into a 3-parts pace now in a few moments. I don't work my horses particularly hard, as you can see. We like to leave that to the racetrack. I believe horses must enjoy doing their homework. And I also believe in variety, because these horses that we're working this particular gallop here today, they'll do something different tomorrow. They'll go to a different part of the Curragh to canter.
Do you think training methods have changed much in recent years?
Well, I don't think we train our horses as hard as they used to train horses years ago, and I think that's because horses possibly wouldn't stand up to it as well. Also, horses are more valuable nowadays, and I think we're being a little bit more careful with them. None of these colts have ever raced. And the horse that Michael Canaan is riding, he'll run in about 3 or 4 weeks' time. That colt that Michael rode there now, I bought him at the Cartier Million. He wasn't very expensive, he cost 20,000. He's one of the cheaper horses in the sale. But he's a nice colt and he goes well. The chestnut colt is a nice colt. He's a homebred horse of Alan Polson's. They tell me when they're ready to run, and they also tell me what their best distance will be, and that we'll get a good idea by working them with other horses and watching their action and watching how they perform. The more time we can give horses, the better. I love to wait with my 2-year-olds and train them, certainly for the second part of the year. And the bigger colts, I would even like not to run them at all as 2-year-olds. And the emphasis has been so much on 2-year-old racing, and I think it's a pity, really, because they're so young and so immature, both physically and mentally. And I think a little bit of patience will always pay dividends.
When can you first recognise ability in a thoroughbred?
I always say that you get a feel about them in about the month of April, but towards the end of April, when they're working maybe over short distances for the first time, over 3 furlongs. I've always found the good get better and the bad get worse. There's exceptions to it, and you make allowances for, you know, more backward horses and that, but even the horse bred to go a mile and a half, they show it to you. You know, the horse is going to be a group horse.
Even April as 2-year-olds?
Even as April as 2-year-olds, when they're doing their first little bit of work over 3 furlongs within themselves, they'll show it to you.
What do you look for, Dermot, during work? What can you see in a horse as he comes up and passes you?
Well, basically we're watching how the horse is striding out. We're watching his action, and want to see how he is within himself. Basically his movements, that he's moving comfortably.
How much do you rely on your own eye, and how much do you rely on your work riders?
It's a combined operation, really, but I rely quite a bit on my own eye. I think there's no substitute for it. And naturally I'm influenced by my work riders. I'm very fortunate to have very good work riders. Put the whole lot together, apart from your own eye, your work riders, the health of your horse, blood picture of your horse, the weight of your horse, everything. And it all kind of comes together. They're just cantering along there nice and quietly.
Veterinary science plays an enormous part in training now. I mean, do you rely quite heavily on blood results? And
I do, yes indeed. I do indeed. I do indeed. We check their bloods regularly before they run and after they run. That combined with weighing them before and after they race gives a pretty clear picture of our horse's health.
Dermot's horses are split between 2 yards. The second yard, here at Rathbride, is where most of the fillies are stabled. It also has its own extensive all-weather gallop. What are these 2 fillies telling you right now?
Well, the filly in front, as I said, she's running 1. She's pretty sharp. She's fit and forward. The filly behind has not started yet. She's still immature, and she's still 5 or 6 weeks off her race.
Happy with it?
I'm satisfied with it. Yes, indeed. They're 2 nice fillies. Both would have needed that piece of work, especially, as I said, the filly on the inside.
You've actually cut down on your stable since 5 years ago.
Yeah, I train less horses nowadays by design. We still have 100 horses, but that's as many as I want. And we're fortunate. We win on average over 100 races each year. And Michael's been champion jockey for the last 5 years, and I've been leading trainer in numbers of winners and prize money on 3 of those 5 years. But you're only as good as your last win, you know. I would have to say confidence in your own ability and patience are the 2 vital factors.
Dermot Well leaves nothing to chance, and his record speaks for itself. Few of his contemporaries in Ireland have produced as many winners, and he surely looks set for another title. Last month we witnessed the birth of Coriana's Ashdale foal. 2 days later we returned to Cheveley Park Stud, and Chris Richardson gave us an update on his progress.
Well, foal now is 48 hours old, and we're delighted the way he's come on. We always weigh them after birth, and that was done obviously the next morning, and he weighed 126 pounds, which is just marginally above average, and we found that they normally average about 110 to 116 pounds. So he's slightly above, which is good. We always weigh all the foals here, and we'll probably find that with the sort of research that we've done, that the foals will gain as much as 4 pounds a day just from the mare's milk. So this mare has a terrific amount of milk, and she's you know, obviously going to do this foal well.
There's a considerable variation in weight increase. One doesn't want it to be too rapid or the foal to get heavy. It exercise obviously reduces the increase in weight, whereas if the foals are kept in boxes and given much exercise, the increase will be at a maximum. As far as height or growth is concerned, again, the aim should be gradual, continual growth rather than spurts. It's very easy if you overfeed young animals to drive the growth rate, which is bad because you get uneven growth of bones versus ligaments, which can cause problems of the foal becoming straight in its forelegs rather than the natural angles at the pastern. It's good practice to test the red cells and the hemoglobin levels to make sure that they're normal. There is a condition in which the foal may have its red cells destroyed by antibodies from the mare, and therefore one can check at about 24 hours that this process is not occurring.
We obviously make sure that the foal, the mare and foal, the temperatures are taken, the data is recorded so that if there should be a question, the vet, when he comes on his regular daily round, is immediately notified if there's any question mark at all. He, as you saw, as it was seen during the foaling, was a little bit sleepy, a little bit slow, but he's picked that up terrifically well actually over the last day or so, and we've been very fortunate with the weather, and he's been outside and he's had the sun on his back, and both the mare and the foal are doing extremely well.
Next month, it's the turn of the blacksmith and his assessment of Coriana's foal.
Shadid, champion European 3-year-old in 1985, has made a superb start to his stud career. From 8 runners, Shadid is the sire of 2 winners and 6 placed horses. Shadid's yearling average at the 1989 Keeneland Summer Sale was $303,750. Shadid stands at Gainsborough Farm, Kentucky.
Contrary to most pre-sale predictions, including by this former expert, the Kentucky summer-July sales were not down dramatically as anticipated, but rather were virtually dead even with 1988 figures. This was very good news for the breeders, most of whom, as I say, had anticipated poor results. The final total show for the whole week, including Fasig-Tipton, Keeneland Monday, Tuesday, and Keeneland Wednesday, showed $126.3 million in gross, an average of $216,332 for the 584 listed sales throughout the week. The gross was down $3 million, the average up about $1,000, but this, as I say, very good news for the breeders. And now the average is held steady at the July summer sales, held virtually steady for the last 4 years. The gross has been on a roller coaster ride. As everyone knows, there's been a great roller coaster ride in the horse business in the 1980s. And look at the gross of the Kentucky July sales each year certainly illustrates that. Back in 1980, the gross for the Kentucky July sales was $90 million. In 81 and 82, it edged up to around $120 million in the 120s. By 1984, it had shot up to $222 million, and then the skid began. In 86 and 87, the gross was in the $140 million range. And last year and again this year in 1989, back to the 120s, back to the levels of 1981 and 82. The number sold, however, has dropped from nearly 800 in 1980 to now under 600 for the first time in 1989. So there's been a steady slide throughout the 80s in the number of horses sold at the July sales. Well, this year, of course, the most prominent feature of the sales was once again the Mokhtoum family. The Mokhtoum family may have spent more money in past years, but they've certainly never gone home with more horses. They're believed to have bought nearly 85 horses just in the Monday, Tuesday sessions alone. They probably accounted for 1/3 of the purchases under theirs and agents' names, and probably half of the money spent in the Monday, Tuesday session, $50 million. That, of course, was one of the things that made the sale stronger than was anticipated. And the other thing really was the presence of American money at higher levels than we anticipated. What we call 6.5-figure yearlings, that's yearlings from $500,000 on up. There were 72 6.5-figure yearlings in 1980. We thought that number was going to drop because Americans would not be prepared to pursue the Maktoums and other European monies as high as they had in 1988. But in fact, once again in 1989, there were 72 6.5-figure plus yearlings, of which Americans were responsible, we believe, for about a third of the horses bought and a third of the money spent. And even at the 7-figure level, 1 million and above, where there were 18 horses sold, and that was a 50% increase over the 12 in 1988, Americans were responsible for 5 of those 18. One of the things that's notable about the sales, however, is that even though the growth stayed level, it was strongest at the very top, even though the top dropped. That is, the very, very top, the high for the sale dropped. The Monday-Tuesday sessions were up 10% on average, but Wednesday, when the Maktoum family was not nearly so prominent, dropped 19%, and Fasig-Tipton, which kicked the week off the previous weekend, was down 28%. Now at Keeneland, the top 3 horses, there were 3 horses that brought over $2 million. Of course, the Northern Dancer colt, as predicted from Overbrook, did top the sale at $2.8 million, but that was a drop from the high last year of $3.5 million and represents the lowest high, if you will, since 1980 when Lachine brought $1.3 million. This colt was not bought by the Maktoum family, but rather by the Japanese breeder Zenya Yoshida, who stands Northern Taste in Japan. The Blushing Groom Folk Art colt brought $2.3 million to Darley, and Blushing Groom had a terrific sale. The Danzig colt, the full brother to Key Danzig and the 3/4 brother to Baccaroff, was the other $2 million colt, he at $2.1 million to Gainsborough. Blushing Groom, surprisingly, to me anyway, led the sire list, but of course that was a factor of his tremendous success with Nashwan and Snow Bride and Blushing John this year. His 10 averaged $761,000, and he just got up to beat Danzig, who averaged $657,000. This with sires with 3 or more sold and doesn't include Northern Dancer, and is the lowest level for a leading sire in many years. The Saratoga sale is the highlight of the international sales scene this month. It averaged $202,000 in 1988, dropping from $240,000 the year before, but is generally expected to do fairly well this year. It looks like a pretty strong catalog, and enthusiasm is certainly high, confidence high among breeders and buyers alike after the good results in July. Prominently mentioned at Saratoga, on Tuesday night, it looks like Peter Brant night, as White Birch Farm has a number of horses, very attractive pedigrees, consigned as agent, including for Carl Icon's Foxfield Farm. They have a sister to Key Dancer and Key Flyer by Nijinsky. They've got a half-sister to Magic of Life by Aladar, a Seattle Slew colt out of Miss Oceana, and a full brother to the Flamingo winner Telinium by Aladar. As agent for Dennis Diaz, White Birch also has a half-sister to Spend a Buck by Nijinsky. On Wednesday, Eaton Williams has a very strong, broad consignment. Brushwood Stable selling a full brother to Fred Astaire by Nijinsky, and there's also from Dairy Meeting Farm on Wednesday a 3/4 sister to Danzig, she by the Minstrel. There's more good stuff on Thursday, including a couple by Cure the Blues, a horse that Americans might be interested in keeping an eye on, because even though he's not considered that great a sire in Europe, almost everything he's had that's come to America has been very successful, and these 2 yearlings are from his first American crop. The 2 sires that have the best representation and the strongest pedigrees at Saratoga are Nijinsky and Aladar. Now, I'll be back next month to review Saratoga and to preview the Kentucky September sale.
Dancing Brave, European champion and Horse of the Year in 1986. His first crop in 1990 will include sons or daughters of
Hello everyone, I'm Tom Hammond, and today we'll recap 10 of the top American races run during June and July. Let's begin with fillies and mares in the Milady Handicap at Hollywood Park. Bayakoa was the solid favorite.
But Bayakoa will persevere in the Milady. It's her 4th sweepstakes in a row.
The Argentine-bred Bayacoa picks up her third Grade 1 victory of the year. The 5-year-old mare was ridden by Lafitte Pinkai. To Belmont Park for the Bowling Green Handicap. El Senor was the favorite.
Coming down the stretch. On the outside, El Senor rushes up now to take a short lead. Cordeleon battles back with Brabart 3/3 and Lord Bart coming to the wire. El Senor in front.
Over a soft course, El Senor wins by a neck over the French-bred Coeur de Lion. El Senor is a 5-year-old by Valdez. Let's go to Hawthorne near Chicago for the Budweiser Hawthorne Gold Cup. Crypto Clearance, who won this race last year, went postward as one of the favorites.
We got ourselves a match race. Crypto Clearance pours it on. Proper reality, classic account, lightning strikes twice. Here it is, Crypto Clearance. Jose Santos doing it again, a length and a half.
Crypto Clearance, a 5-year-old son of Fapiano, is currently the active money leader in the U.S. Back to California for the 50th running of the Hollywood Gold Cup. Blushing John, a son of Blushing Groom, was the betting choice.
Quarter of a mile to come in the 50th running of the Hollywood Gold Cup. Lively one, Blushing John. Now Blushing John off the turn has the lead. Lively one second. Here comes Sabona, a closer third. Nasser El Arab is a well-beaten fourth, and Kayan inside the 16-mile pole. Blushing John, Sabona coming after him, but it's Blushing John in the Hollywood Gold Cup.
The 4-year-old colt, Blushing John, was bred in Kentucky, but began his career in Europe and was a classic winner in France at 3. He's now one of the leaders among the handicap runners here. 6 fillies and mares ran in the Beverly Hills Handicap, which was contested on the grass.
It's Claire Marine forging to the front. Fitzwilliam play angles out second, the outside. It's Claire Marine under right-handed urging, and she will prevail in the Beverly Hills Handicap.
Irish-bred runners finished 1-2, as Claire Marine triumphs by just over a length. The daughter of What a Guest was bred by Kilfresh Stud. Last year in France, Claire Marine was runner-up in 3 group events. Now back to Belmont Park for the Coaching Club American Oaks, the 3rd leg of the filly Triple Crown. After winning the first 2 jewels, the Acorn and the Mother Goose, Open Mind was the overwhelming choice to take the series finale.
Night of Fun on the outside, putting in in front. Open Mind on the rail back into second. The mile and a quarter in 2:04 and 2. Night of Fun draws clear to a 2-length lead. Open Mind now moves to the outside and comes on again. Night of Fun leads by off. Open Mind on the outside continues to gain. They pass 16th pole. Night of Fun on the rail. Open Mind on the outside. Night of Fun has the lead.
Well, Night of Fun did beat Open Mind to the wire, but she would later be disqualified. At the 3/16 pole, she lugged in on Open Mind, causing rider Angel Cordero to check and switch to the outside. So Open Mind was awarded the victory, her 9th consecutive triumph. Open Mind, last year's 2-year-old filly champion, is on her way to another Eclipse Award. On our Independence Day, 8 turf specialists ran in the American Handicap. The English-bred Steinlen was the favorite. At the wire, it's a photo finish. Steinlen is in between horses, and Mr. Wonderful flying on the outside. And the 6-year-old by Mummy's Pet wins it by a nose. The winner, who was bred in England by Lavinia, Duchess of Norfolk, was a Group 3 winner in his native country as a 3-year-old. Back to New York for the Suburban Handicap. Crypto Clearance returned as the favorite just 10 days after his victory in the Budweiser Hawthorne Gold Cup.
They enter the stretch with Home Builder leading by a length. Dancing Spree on the outside, second still making up ground. Dancing Spree on the outside takes over by a half. Farther out, Forever Silver moves into second. Easy and Dirty gains into third. Home Builder back into fourth. On the outside, It's Academic. Crypto Clearance still far back with Brand's Time. They pass the 8th pole. Dancing Spree leads the way by a head. On the outside, Forever Silver, second by a length. On the rail, Easy and Dirty. Dancing Spree still leads as they approach the wire.
Dancing Spree, a 4-year-old colt by Nijinsky, defeats Forever Silver by a neck. 10 days prior to the Suburban, Dancing Spree captured the Grade 2 True North Handicap. Our final 2 races focus on the female runners. First, it's the Hollywood Oaks. The entry of Imaginary Lady and Leah Lucinda was co-favored with Gorgeous.
but they'll have to hurry to catch Gorgeous. She's in total command, sweeping to victory in the Hollywood Oaks.
An impressive performance by Gorgeous, who romps home by over 7 lengths. Gorgeous is a daughter of Slew Gold. Imaginary Lady, who had never finished worse than second, ran 4th. In the Vanity Handicap, Bayakoa was back to try for her 5th straight victory.
But there'll be no catching the top mare here on the West Coast. It's Bayakoa, a handy winner, wire to wire.
Bayakoa cruises home first for her 4th Grade 1 triumph of the year. Bayakoa, a daughter of Consultant's Bid, has established herself as the top older female here in the States. That's it. We'll see you next time.
Oakdale increasing his lead. Going to the line, it's Oakdale, the winner.
Oakdale. What made you choose the winner?
We're buying a villa from a company called Oakdale.
Where is it?
In Tenerife. It's being built for us in the picturesque Sunningdale village at the Golf del Sur Sports and Leisure Complex. There's a superb clubhouse. All villas will have a spacious lounge, ensuite bathrooms, and luxury kitchens. Phone Oakdale now on Harrogate 507-217 and ask for a free video of Sunningdale Village, Golf del Sur, Tenerife.
Newmarket's charming July course, gorgeous weather and lots to look forward to. The finish to the Cherry Hinton Stakes run in record time, and could Dead Certain, conceding £5, hold Chimes of Freedom.
And Boozy now coming back to the field as Dead Certain goes on, and Chimes of Freedom has to stretch to go in pursuit. Palace Street in the black and white puts in a big finish. They come inside the final furlong, and Dead Certain being pressed hard on the outside by Chimes of Freedom is going to quicken up and probably just get there, but Dead Certain fights back. There's Chimes of Freedom and Dead Certain, and Ding Dong struggle up to the line, and it's close, and that's very close indeed between Chimes of Freedom and Dead Certain, and you can see the jockeys asking each other. Steve Cawthon asking Ray Cochran if he's got up.
If that was tight, the July Stakes for 2-year-old colts proved the opposite. Rock City ruled and routed from start to finish. He gets better with every race. Next stop, the Jim Mcgrath Stakes.
Here comes Champagne Gold down the centre of the track, 2 lengths to pick up on Rock City, who has that advantage. Champagne Gold, though, puts in a challenge. Wadood is now being just eased a little bit inside the final furlong, but it's Rock City who's going well clear as they come up towards the line. Rock City clear by 5, and at the line, Rock City has it. A great run by Champagne Gold takes second place. Wadood just 3rd. Back in 4 was Boken Lad, and so Rock City, a son of Ballard Rock.
Of the 12 group races for 2-year-olds run in Europe to the 25th of July, no less than 8 were won by horses sold as yearlings by Tattersalls. They were the Criterium di Roma Group 3 won by KMA, the Coventry Stakes Group 3 won by Rock City, the Anglia Television July Stakes Group 3 also won by Rock City, the Queen Mary Stakes Group 3 won by Dead Certain, the Norfolk Stakes Group 3 won by Petilant, the Premio Primi Passi Group 3 won by Man of the Year. The Princess Margaret Stakes Group 3 won by Pharaoh's Delight. And the Group 2 Prix Robert Papin won by Ozone Friendly. Tattersalls, the hallmark of success.
The Princess Margaret Stakes lost some of its significance when Dead Certain was withdrawn overnight. In her absence, Pharaoh's Delight started favourite, and as she'd done in the Windsor Castle Stakes at Royal Ascot, dominated throughout.
Pharaoh's Delight from in second place, Routiant on the far side, La Cabria, and Routiant coming now to challenge Pharaoh's Delight. It's Pharaoh's Delight from Routiant on the near side, on the far side, La Cabria, but Pharaoh's Delight with the advantage as they race well inside the final furlong. Pharaoh's Delight repeating that Windsor Castle triumph under Pat Edery, goes clear now as they race towards the line. Pharaoh's Delight has won it from Routiant. Second and third was La Cabria. 4th was Sarah Georgina, and then Palace Street, and finally the one-time early leader, Waterwell, and so the result is first, number 4, Pharaoh's Delight.
Until the Richmond Stakes at Goodwood, Rock City looked by far the best juvenile to have raced. In an interesting contest here, Contract Law emerged as a colt with a bright future, proving far too strong for Key Danzig in the closing stages.
Contract Law coming there now, fast towards the stand side. and it's Key Danzig with Contract Law eating up the ground on the near side to come and take it up. Contract Law has come to take it up now and is going clear. Contract Law is going to upset the favourite here as they race towards the line. Contract Law has it well sewn up and is the winner. Second is Key Danzig. Third and fourth are Rushmore and Poke the Fire with fifth Wavemaster, and so the result of the Scottish Equitable Richmond Stakes. First, number 1, Contract Law.
At Three Chimneys Farm, every day is race day. The farm, Three Chimneys. The idea is excellence.
The Lanson Champagne Stakes brought together two highly promising and unbeaten colts, Be My Chief and Dashing Blade, both sons of first crop sires, Be My Chief by Chief's Crown and Dashing Blade by Elegant Air.
Be My Chief, still the leader, being chased along by Steve. Under pressure, Dashing Blade on the far side. Be My Chief from Dashing Blade as they race down towards the furlong pole. And here comes Robalation with a challenge towards the stand side. Be My Chief from Dashing Blade and Robalation. They race up towards the line. Be My Chief from Dashing Blade and Robalation. Be My Chief being pressed by Robalation as they come to the line, but holds them. Be My Chief, the winner. Robalation is second, and third is Dashing Blade. 4 and 5 was sheer precocity and Life Watch Vision, and so the result. First, number 1, Be My Chief.
Well, I think that it's the best artificial surface that we have had here in Newmarket.
Its main success, attribute, call it what you like, is that it seems to be able to stand up to any type of weather.
I've found that my horses are much sounder after racing and training over Equitrack than any conventional track.
The most impressive thing about the Equitrack really is the fact that it is as near to turf as any of the surfaces that are present available.
The Lancashire Oaks saw Roseate Turn, still a maiden but nonetheless runner-up to Alyisa at Epsom, with a golden chance to end her frustrating losing spell. Patiently ridden, she did nothing wrong, staying on strongly on rain-softened ground that seemed to suit her.
By Rapping, and Roseate Turn finishes well in the centre, down to the distance, and Lucky Song being joined by Roseate Turn in the centre. These two go on from Rapping third, then Brazick taking fourth, but into the closing stages, and Roseate Turn looks like breaking her duck here. Roseate Turn being strongly pressed by Lucky Song, but Roseate Turn wins the Lancashire Oaks from Lucky Song behind these Rapping and Brazick.
A field of 11 high-class sprinters for the July Cup, almost all in summer blue. With Gallic League bursting from stall 6 and setting a cracking pace, who could finish the best? Answer Cadeau Genera and Golden Union, in totally different but record-shattering styles.
The trail, they come halfway stage, and Gallic League has it, but Danehill gets going. In behind these comes Carrera, but Cadeau Genera in the light blue cap is going well. The French filly Golden Opinion, second from the left of the picture, starts to ground. Past a quarter-mile pole, and Danehill has the pressure applied, and Cadeau Genera is the one that's powering home in the blue cap. A furlong to go, and Cadeau Genera has it. Golden Opinion is picking up ground fast and late, and coming with a tremendous run. Cadeau Genera from Golden Opinion and Danehill, and Golden Opinion eats up ground. Cadeau Genera just holds on. It's going to be close at the line. Cadeau Genera beats Golden Opinion in a photo. Danehill third, then Carrera, Point of Light, sharp and early Gallic League. Montresor, Big Shuffle, followed in by Magical Strike, and last of all was Handsome Sailor.
Soviet Star, champion European sprinter in 1988 and winner of 5 Group 1 races from 6 furlongs to 1 mile, including the 1988 Norcross July Cup.
1, 2 and 3 at this stage, but Soviet Star goes clear. Soviet Star cleared by 2 to 3 lengths from Big Shuffle, who's going to finish second. At the line, Soviet Star wins it. Big Shuffle second, with third going to...
Soviet Star, the only colt to defeat the champion Miesk, and the only Group 1 winning son by Nureyev at stud in Europe.
Zilzal's tremendously impressive victory in the Jersey Stakes at Royal Ascot meant he started at prohibitive odds for the Van Geese Criterion Stakes. Ridden in different fashion here, Zilzal made all, powering up the hill to win by an easy 5 lengths.
Tay Wharf next to the rails, and Zilzal being asked to lengthen by Walter Swinburne, and he's doing so. Long odds on, but pressed on the outside by Russian Bond. Sure Gold is finding his 7th furlong just a bit far, but could be coming up against an extraordinarily good horse in Zilzal, who really quickens clear most impressively. One-horse race. It's number 3, Zilzal, the winner. Russian Bond second, with Tay Wharf in a photo, with Sure Gold third and fourth. And so Zilzal justified those odds, did it the hard way.
Front-running tactics clearly suit Magic Gleam well too. She gained handsome compensation for her gallant second to Golden Opinion at Royal Ascot by dominating the Child Stakes. Ensconce, conceding weight all round, could make no significant impression.
And it's Magic Gleam who's asserted her authority on these good fillers and quickens 4 to 5 clear in very good workmanlike style, pricking her ears, winning it very easily indeed. Hardly knows she's had a race, and at the line, Magic Gleam was the winner. Ensconce's second guest artiste placed yet again, with 4th place going to Buckler's Rose. 5th was Arsene, 6th and last was Racing Home, and that one only beat Daylight.
Scotland's only pattern race is the Group 3 William Hill Classic over 1.25 miles. The trio who competed, Scenic, Ile de Sheep and High Estate, are all classy colts. Close betting saw Scenic trying the trip for the first time, the outsider.
A furlong and a half left, and it's Scenic who's come through on the outside. Ile de Sheep rallies on the far side. High Estate is now third, but inside the final furlong, and it's Scenic the leader, but Ile de Sheep is coming back at him on the far side as they go on towards the finish, and it's Scenic perhaps just holding Ile de Sheep with High Estate in third.
The Sussex Stakes, the most significant mile race in Europe so far. Lockinge winner most welcome, Mark of Distinction 4th in the Guineas, Opening Verse runner-up in the Eclipse. Shardy with 3 top-class wins over a mile, Warning champion European miler of 1988, and progressive and hitherto unbeaten Zilzal, a talent surely as yet unfulfilled.
And it's Opening Verse and Shardy. Then comes Zilzal going well. Green Line Express towards the outside. Warning making progress up the rail now over on the far rail. And it's Zilzal coming there, this unbeaten colt, very strongly now, with Shardy over on the far rail. Opening Verse between horses, and Pat Edery desperately looking for room now on Warning as Zilzal goes to the front from Green Line Express. Warning's not going to get there. Zilzal now going to be challenged by Mark of Distinction, who's coming there well towards the stand side, but it's Zilzal from Green Line Express and Mark of Distinction. Zilzal is going to win it in great style at the line. Zilzal is the winner, and Green Line Express is second. Mark of Distinction's in a photo with Most Welcome for third.
Zilzal's 3-length victory broke the track record. Warning was again way below form, as was Shardy, for whom the ground was said to be too firm. The Gordon Stakes over 1.5 miles was definitely below its usual standard. It gave Warshan, so disappointing in the derby behind Nashwan, the chance to get back to winning form. Having reportedly choked at Epsom, he was fitted with a tongue strap here.
And Warshan burst through on the far side to take it up from Alpha Bell on the near side. And it's Alpha Bell and Warshan fighting it out now. NC Cohen fighting back. It's going to be close at the line. And Warshan has just won it from Alpha Bell. Warshan and Alpha Bell in a photo. Warshan's won it. Third was NC Cohen. And fourth was Greenwich Papillon.
Sadim won the Gold Cup at Royal Ascot and Goodwood Cup last season. The double, following his facile victory at Royal Ascot last month, looked very much on again, as only 4 rivals opposed him.
They run down past the furlong pole. Mezzacano's fighting back on the far side. Sadim's got a fight on his hands. It's Mezzacano and Sadim as they race to the line. Mezzacano has taken it up from Sadim. Princess Tobieska is coming there again on the near side. And at the line, Mezzacano's won it. Mitsukona's won it, and it's a photo per second between Princess Sobieska and Sadim. So here's a turn-up in the 1989 Goodwood Cup.
The King George Stakes over 5 furlongs saw the return of Silver Fling, sidelined since early May through injury. Her opponents included Nabil Dancer, Superpower, Carol's Treasure and Princess Athena. Could she do it again?
Racing down towards the furlong pole, Princess Athena, Superpower, Nabil Dancer over on the far side with Whippet challenging, and Silver Fling also coming there, but on the near side, putting in a tremendous push is Stado Blessed, but it's Princess Athena from Stado Blessed and Carol's Treasure as they come to the line. Stado Blessed has won it! Stado Blessed has won it from Princess Athena and Carol's Treasure with Whippet and Silver Fling just in behind them. It'll probably be a photo, but Stado Blessed has got up all right to win this for Mr. Richard Duchessois and Luca Kumani and Ray Cochran.
Tony, I imagine from a jockey's point of view, you couldn't find a fairer racecourse than York.
No, I think York's probably the best racecourse in England. Very fair track, 2 miles, horseshoe shape, flat the whole way round. Got a lovely long sweeping turn into the straight, 4.5 furlong running. Great big wide track, there's always plenty of room. You know, it's a track you'd love to ride on, really.
And suit a galloping horse?
It suits any type of horse, but I mean, a big long striding gallop, it does suit better than most. But I mean, yeah, it's the sort of track to say any horse can go on it.
Are there any snags from a jockey's point of view?
York is one of the few tracks in the country that does water really well, and if you do get a shower, down the far side by the wood, about 7 from home, it can get very heavy there. And very often in the old days, it always used to run around on the outside fence, where it'd be faster ground. And then again, up the straight when it's soft, you always come up the middle of the track, rather than stick right there. And the sprint track is flat, the draw doesn't appear to make any difference really there. The only problem you do have on the sprint track, sort of about 1.5 furlongs from home, when you get to the stands, a lot of horses tend to hang away from the stands rail and sort of run towards the middle of the track.
Why is that?
I think basically because the crowd are so close, and also Yorkshire crowds are very loud. And I think it just sort of frightens a few horses. But I mean, yeah, nothing bad about it.
So any trainer and jockey would be delighted to go to York?
Oh, you would. As I say, a smashing track and the ground's always good. You know, it's a pleasure to ride there.
Now for an in-depth preview of the most important race run at the York Ebor meeting, the Group 1 International Stakes, sponsored for the first time by Banstead Manor Stud. Honours are equally divided between the different ages. The disqualification of last year's first past the post, Persian Heights, gave the race to Robert Armstrong's Shady Heights and put the 4-year-olds just one behind the classic generation in the past 10 years. The ill-fated Iron Lady Triptych became the first 5-year-old to win the International Stakes since Dahlia in 1975, when battling through the mud to beat Ascot Knight in 1987. Triptych and the Barry Hills-trained Cormorant Wood are the only females to triumph in York's premier race in the last 10 years. Of the jockeys riding at present, Pat Eddery has the best record in the International Stakes, having won it 3 years running in the early 80s on Belledale Flutter in 81, Assert in 82 and Caerleon in 83. No trainer has won the race more than once in the past 10 years. Newmarket trainers, though, have accounted for 4 victories. Foreign runners have always acquitted themselves creditably, having won 3 of the last 10 runnings with 17 runners. Favourites have a fair record in the race, having won 5 of the last 10 runnings. The Eclipse and the King George have proved by far the most reliable sources of winners in the great race. 5 of the last 10 winners of the International Stakes had run in the King George, although only 1, Troy, had won, while 3 horses had previously run in the Eclipse. In the last 10 years, 5 winners of the International Stakes had previously been successful in a Group 1 event and 3 had won their previous race. Shady Heights and Triptych are the only examples of previous runners in the International Stakes who have gone on to win the race the following year.
After the long dry spell, it's still firm ground for today's fixtures.
He's reported to have thrived recently and has been working brilliantly at home.
They're off. Into the straight. They continue uphill now towards the halfway point as they start the turn, racing round now with just about 3 furlongs to go. As they come now to the final couple of furlongs, and inside the final furlong.
Race call 0898 500 300, the leader in telephone racing.
Analysing a sprint race is never easy. The action takes place within such a short period of time that it's easy to miss incidents which can make the difference between success and defeat. Somebody who calls more sprint races than most is journalist and racecourse commentator Jim Mcgrath, and he explains that if you're trying to evaluate these races, then preparation before the race is the key.
Well, there should be a very lengthy preparation, and also the preparation depends on whether you're actually watching it on the racecourse or whether you're in the betting shop or watching it at home on television. I find, if I'm on the racecourse, that it's absolutely vital to go to the paddock to look at the distinguishing features of all horses, and also be looking for the normal colours of the jockeys. I mean, that's important in any race, but more so because the race is over so quickly, and also most of the sprint in this country are run on straight courses. The things I look for are blinkers, multicoloured blinkers, sheepskin nosebands. You're looking for any piece of equipment that will identify them. If they're racing head-on to you, you're looking for white faces, you're looking for any blinkers that are different, you're looking for the colour of the horse, the style of the jockey, the actual colours that he's wearing, the distinguishing features such as that. In fact, anything at all that will help you identify that horse from another. Beforehand, I usually write down the draw in numerical order. And that means sometimes when they move into the stalls, you can't see them clearly enough. But by knowing that the favourite jumps from stall 3, you're immediately prepared for that. Watching the actual race itself, watching the break is absolutely vital, and that's where that numerical draw comes in very much into play.
That's the preparation. Now we're going to have a look at a few sprint races to show what can happen during the race.
The first thing to watch for is the break. It's absolutely crucial in sprint races. It's essential to break with the field because there's rarely the time to make up the ground lost at the start over a sprint distance. A good example of a horse losing his chance at the start is Den's Ben here in this race at Epsom over 6 furlongs. Watch for him in the brown colours in the centre. He rears at the start, misses at 2 or 3 lengths, and that's the end of Den's Ben. A good example, though, of a sprinter running into form and running on at the end of a race is Maiden Bidder in this same race at Epsom. Watch for her in the light blue colours on the left of screen in the noseband. She's absolutely flying at the finish. She starts to make ground now. She's still about 8 or 9 lengths off the pace inside the furlong, but she absolutely sprouts wings in the last 50 or 60 yards and just fails to catch the first 2. Certainly an eye-catcher. Here's another example of a horse losing ground at the start, but this time with a different result. Haunting Beauty in stall 6 jumps in the air at the start, loses 2 lengths, and you would have thought loses her winning chance. Let's see how Haunting Beauty gets on in the run. Less than a quarter mile to go. That's her second from the right in the noseband, trying for an opening between Metal Boys in the green cap and Granitton Bay, the other one with the noseband. She's now starting to get something of an opening, and she's taking it, but she's still lying in 4th position. She's got a bit of ground to make up from there. She gets more room, starts to really stretch in the last 50 yards, and goes on to win well. Bearing in mind the ground that she lost at the start and the trouble she had gaining a clear passage in the last quarter of a mile, she'd be good value for that win. Here's an example of how certain sprinters like to blaze away in front, but how the characteristics of the course can often catch them out. We look at the Trafalgar House sprint at Sandown Park over 5 furlongs, and the horse we're concentrating on is Almost Blue in front in the white and red colours. About 3 lengths clear inside the 2 from Desert Dawn, and Perrion about to go for an opening on the inside, about to move up to 3rd. You see Almost Blue start to shorten stride over the last quarter mile. The stiff uphill climb has really caught him out. It was hard to maintain that sort of a gallop on such a demanding and stiff 5 furlong course, whereas at Epsom, over a much easier 5 furlongs, he might still have held on.
The closing Sunday in Longchamp's spring-summer season features traditionally the Grand Prix de Paris. A fine racing prospect here with Kendor, Galetto and Dancehall, the market leaders.
But here's Dancehall in the storming home, takes the lead from City Dancer. Creator on the outside, followed then by Corvelia. Down the outside, Kendor very late from Norberto. But in the final stages, it's Dancehall 3 in front. Norberto gets through on the inside to take second now, but in the run to the line, it's all Dancehall. Goes on to win the Grand Prix de Paris from Norberto. Creator 3rd, followed by Kendor, City Dancer, then Galetto from Rassi Brassac, and last to finish Corvelia.
40 minutes later, and the slow early pace set by young Mother worked to her advantage in the Prix de Malloret. With the rest queuing up to launch a challenge, she missed all the scrimmaging. Second place Colorado Dancer wasn't so fortunate.
Into straight now, Sharada moves up on the outside to tackle young Mother. She gets ahead in front. Further back then is a Kaja. Colorado Dancer looking for a way through. It's Sharada on the outside. Young Mother's not done with. She's fighting back. Then Colorado Dancer trying to get in clear from Premier Young Mother kicks again on the inside, gets the lead from Sharada. Here's Colorado Dancer flying but didn't make it, and Young Mother beat Colorado Dancer. Sharada third, followed by Premier Moore, then Lady Shipley from Solveig, then Acadia.
With the exception of Weld, there appear to be few proven young stayers around. A tight and controversial finish here to the Prix de l'Espérance. Noble Savage, 6th to Weld at Royal Ascot, made all, only to be relegated. It didn't appear to affect the result.
But it's Noble Savage in front, starting to wander a bit under pressure though. Two in front of Willem de Tur, then on the outside putting in a claim is Shanfold and Turgeon from a long way back. Still in front though, Noble Savage getting very weary as it starts to roll out. Shanfold and Turgeon flying, but Noble Savage just gets there from Turgeon. Shanfold in third, followed by Willem de Tur, then Robert Land from Forest Force.
Another bunched finish. A common occurrence in French racing, where the outcome is often decided by a sprint, whatever the distance. Look out for Creator, late and fast.
Tartas takes the lead from Louis Seif, out wide then is Creator, then in the centre River Warden starting to fly from Belle Tempête. Tartas trying to hold on from Creator. Here's River Warden with a late run in the centre. A late surge takes River Warden to the lead, and River Warden gets up to win from Creator. Then Tartas in third from Sovereign Water who flew. Further back is Dancer Fred from Belle Tempête, then Louis Seif.
Now for our competition. This month we're going to show clips of 4 stallions. All have been featured in the first 2 issues of Racing World. Next month we'll show the same footage, supported by commentaries from 4 races, which help to identify the stallions. What you must do is identify the 4 stallions and name the winners of our 4 commentary races. The prize is this magnificent watercolour of Chantilly by Gregory Lindsay, exhibited recently at the Osborne Gallery in Floral Street, Covent Garden, and where there's an almost permanent exhibition of racing paintings and James Osborne sculptures. Anyway, here are the 4 stallions.
Next month on Racing World, our racing highlights takes us across the channel to Deauville.
Also the York Ebor meeting, our regular foal care series, the build-up to the European sales. How do major buyers like yearlings to be presented at the sale?
No, this is not summer madness, but it is the seaside, and we're going racing on the beach at Laytown for their unique meeting, tides permitting.
We'll also preview Doncaster and their St Ledger meeting. So join us next month on Racing World.